This is Dolynny TV, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon and welcome back to another edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion here on the channel. Today, it became official via Edmonton Oilers news sources last night that Dominic Cahoon was signing with the Oilers. The Oilers made that move officially today, and now we sit with an Edmonton Oilers team, my friends, that I don't think we have seen as good as it is now in a long while. Honestly, in terms of talent, role players, ability of the roster, and you know what? To a very good degree, goaltending, this is perhaps the best Edmonton Oilers team pre-start of a season in my lifetime. So, what does that mean for the Oilers? That means a lot of things, but it also means that, in my opinion, they are now to be considered the most dangerous team in the NHL. And the reason I would use that kind of phrasing, this is key phrasing here because you got to look at it the way I'm saying it, the most dangerous team in the NHL. I'm saying if they live up to their potential, the Edmonton Oilers could not only run away with the regular season, but if everything else goes well, they can run away with the playoffs as well. But way before we get ready for the playoffs, we got to talk about the regular season and what makes the Edmonton Oilers a team that can run away with the regular season. The most dangerous team, right? If you're going to pick a team that can do it, the Edmonton Oilers, as it currently stands, have to be my pick. Not only because I'm the Oilers guy on YouTube, but simply because look at this roster. Let me list off everything that this roster is made of. Yeah, goaltending is exactly what you're telling me. There's no way this team gets anywhere with goaltending. Well, I'm sorry. Let's just focus on what's up front first. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, James Neal, who we've already talked about this weekend, Zach Kassian, Alex Chiasson, Kyle Turris, Josh Archibald, Jujhar Khaira, Jesse Puljujarvi. You've got Tyler Ennis, Dominic Cahoon, and now you're starting to get under a million. Gaetan Haas, Kailer Yamamoto, Joakim Nygard, and Patrick Russell. Those are the guys out there on the NHL roster as currently projected by Cap Friendly, who has us sitting with $242,000 in cap space, might I add. Darnell Nurse on the back end. Oscar Klefbom, who knows what's happening with him, but that's a major $4.167 million to do something with if he is on the LTIR all season. Adam Larson, Chris Russell, Tyson Barrie, who is a major acquisition to this Edmonton Oilers team for a lot of reasons, and we'll get into that in a few moments here. Caleb Jones, who's going to, by every look of what Ethan Bear did last year, by every look of what he's brought to the NHL level so far in his career, going to take a major step forward this year. And then Ethan Bear, ladies and gentlemen, once he's signed, of course, he's motivated to get back going, but the Oilers have to get him in at the right price. He has to get in at the right price, and then he has to go out there and do exactly what he did for the Oilers last season, and he can potentially bring even more to the table, and that is the best part about Ethan Bear at this point. Mikko Koskinen, Mike Smith in net. It's a gamble, sure, but it's a great gamble to take. It's a gamble that paid off pretty well last year, right? Everybody's pretty much hated Mike Smith when he signed with the Oilers last year, and now you get to run it back. And I mean, there's nothing I don't think goalies like more than consistency and probably getting the chance to run it back, because no goalie will ever replicate exactly what they did the season before, except for Cam Talbot and letting in the first shot on, or letting the first goal in on the first shot. That's just some kind of weird fluke. But besides the point. So that's what you're looking at the NHL level. Then you have guys in the minors and over in Europe right now who could take massive steps forward in Europe and push for a roster spot and really change the complexion of anything we're thinking about now. Cooper Marody, Raphael Lavoie. You've got Ryan McLeod, Tyler Benson, Kirill Maximov. You've got Ostap Safin, who will push into a higher role. You've got a guy like Alan Quine, who you never know what he could end up bringing in a limited 3 or 4 game stint. And then Patrick Russell, of course, is another one we have to keep in mind. And on the back end, the guys you have to pay attention to: Broberg, Bouchard, Samorukov, and Lagesson. Those are big names the Oilers have to look at. And when you add this all together as an Oilers fan, I am sorry, at no time in the previous history of my experience being a fan dating back to 05-06 have we had this much talent in the pipeline, in the system, and in the NHL roster. And given the huge steps forward we took under last year under Ken Holland and Dave Tippett, there is no way to not say this is primed to be the best addition of the Oilers we have seen in a long, long time. Yes, 16-17 was a very good addition, but with the experience our guys have from that year, namely Nuge, namely Kazian, namely McDavid, namely Draisaitl, Nurse, Larson, those guys, and then what you added this past year, there is no way that does not mix in here and give the Edmonton Oilers a dangerous chance to go from here to here next season. Straight up. It's very simple math as to how it does. And how does that math work? Again, they have the chance, or they will be the most dangerous team in the NHL next year. Dangerous means they have to live up to the potential. And that's what everything about this offseason's been about for Ken Holland, is living up to potential, right? If Tyson Barrie lives up to his 55, 60-point defenseman potential, wow. All right, that's a lot of points from one guy on the back end. And in terms of Oilers history, in the past 10, 15 years, that is a heck of a lot of points from a guy on the back end. And then obviously you have whoever his D partner is probably benefits from that as well. The power play benefits from that. So now you've got McDavid, Draisaitl, Nuge. You've got James Neal all benefiting from that. Well, now they've all of a sudden got a couple extra points. And suddenly, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The goal scoring, the ability to still defend, and the goaltending being what you know, and whether you hate it or love it, you at least know it. You are looking at a very complete Edmonton Oilers team, and if they live up to that potential and they stay as a complete team, my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at an absolute dynamite year for our Edmonton Oilers. And now this is, like I said, just based on looking at the easy numbers, right? Adding Dominic Cahoon, Kyle Turris, and Jesse Puljujärvi for the price of what Andreas Athanasiou's qualifying offer would be. That's my favorite stat from today. That's been floating around since 9 this morning, is the fact that those three guys bring dynamically a million miles more of offense than Andreas Athanasiou could, and those guys bring probably a lot more defense combined than Athanasiou would just alone in one winger slot. So that's huge news as well. So you look at those kind of moves. You look at the Tyson Barrie at $3.75 million. A lot of guys on show and prove contracts this year. Barrie, you've got yes, Puljujärvi to an extent on a show and prove contract. If not, his contract's cheap enough. He's a potential enough player you can trade him for something decent. You've got, of course, Tyler Ennis on a show and prove contract. You've got everybody out there fighting for one goal, and that is their playing careers. That is a Stanley Cup, and that is success in Rogers Place as the Edmonton Oilers. Let's just talk about the guys on one-year contracts, or what's left on one-year contracts. Mike Smith, contract year this year. Tyson Barrie, contract year. Adam Larson, contract year. Depending on Ethan Barrett, contract year. William Legason, same thing. Joakim Nygard, contract year. Kailer Yamamoto, contract year. Gaetan Oss, contract year. Dominic Cahoon, contract year, RFA. Tyler Ennis, contract year. Jujhar Khaira, who knows what's going on with him for real, but contract year. Alex Chiasson, contract year. And, of course, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, contract year. So that's a lot of our talent on the Edmonton Oilers on contract years. And when you combine that with now prime Connor McDavid, prime Leon Draisaitl, at least each have won an MVP. And Art Ross, guy could wish. I was going for the big old awards here and I almost botched it. Art Ross and a Ted Lindsay. That's the award I was trying to think of, and I was going with a Conn Smythe trophy. That does not work, but you get where I'm going, is they are decorated players, and here we are trying to see kind of what this Oilers roster shapes up to be. I will tell you what this Oilers roster shapes up to be. It shapes up to be dangerous, and that is the only word to be used here, is it can go from here very quickly to right through the roof almost in a blink of an eye. If everybody lives up to their potentials this year, this Oilers team is far and above the first place team in the NHL. And you know what? Part of that really is outscoring the opponents, because for the first time in a lot of years, we have scoring depth on the wings, on the center lines, beyond what we've had in years previous. Connor McDavid, a guy who's capable of producing 115 points at the NHL level. Leon Draisaitl, 110-point capability. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, he's taken steps forward each of the past 2 years big time. Probably a point-per-game player this year. So 80, 85 points. James Neal, easily 40 points. Well, okay, now you're talking 55, 60 games. Derate it for that. Do the math yourself. You get where I'm going. Zach Kassian, probably due in for a career year if he plays on the top line with either a Cahoon-McDavid combo or a Nugent-Hopkins-McDavid combo. Alex Chiasson, honestly, probably a trade chip, but depending where he slots in the lineup, you could see him do something as well. Kyle Turris on that third line. Ladies and gentlemen, that third line looks so dangerous it's not even funny, and who knows what that third line could bring to the table, especially with an elite passer in Kyle Turris, a guy who's going to just rip the puck from everywhere in Jesse Puljujärvi, and James Neal, who's probably going to bang pucks home and score at an incredible rate, because that just seems like the math that's adding up to me right now. Josh Archibald, well, if he actually scores a goal or two between January and February, or at least the first half of the season, the guy's going to have a pretty good year, probably better than last year. Jujhar Khaira can't go much lower, so you'd expect more production out of him. Jesse Puljujärvi, do the math on 39 points in how many over 146 games or whatever he's played. I'm sure with Kyle Turris and James Neal, he can put up probably 39 points in 60 games or something, depending if he gets power play time. Tyler Ennis, probably due in for another 30-point game or season. Dominic Cahoon, easily playing with Draisaitl or McDavid, puts up 50 points based on what he's done in his career so far. And then Kyler Yamamoto, the ultimate wild card, is what we saw in those 27 games this season a mirage, or is it going to be a tale to tell about a sophomore, essentially, rookie campaign or most games of his career coming out and all of a sudden playing a full season and just lighting the lamp left, right, and center on the score sheet? I don't know. And then on the back end, again, Darnell Nurse, if he can go and get some points offensively and play steady Eddie defense, we'll be happy. Adam Larson, you'd like to see him pick it up and score some points. And again, there is potential all the way around, left, right, and center, and on the back end on this Oilers team, Tyson Barrie included, to score points, 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 and easily put opponents to bed, right? If you can go out there and score points, 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 you're not going to have as hard of a time winning games if you're not in one-goal games every single night. So let's go quickly to a stat sheet. This is all I want to tell you before I head off, is this stat about the Oilers, goals per game last season. I don't want the playoffs. That doesn't work for me. I want the regular season. Thank you. And goals for per game last season, the Edmonton Oilers are all the way down at 15th. 3.14 goals per game. You talk about the point production we now have, career averages in the lineup, that easily slides probably into your 330 range and into either the top 5 or 6 of the league. And yeah, suddenly you're talking about winning a heck of a lot of games if the Oilers get the stingy penalty kill and a little bit better defense and just the same goaltending. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said, it's all about living up to potential. But because of that, the Edmonton Oilers are the most dangerous team headed into the 2021 NHL season. I'm Tyson. This is Dolynny TV. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will catch you in the next one.